Brought to you by Kellogg's. Kellogg's cereals. The best to you each morning. From Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning panel of What's My Line. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And just back from Europe, on my left, our dear friend, Martin Gabel.
On my left, a girl who spent the summer in Germany making 1, 2, 3 for Billy Wilder, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you, Martin. And now the Mount Kisco Kid and the distinguished squire of Random House, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Just back from East Berlin and the very jaws of Mr. Khrushchev, who I'm sure would have found him highly indigestible, our cuddlesome panel moderator, John Charles Daly.
Actually, I'm here tonight because I chased Arlene and Bennett all over Europe and couldn't find them anywhere in Europe, and somebody said they were in New York, so I came back to New York, and here they are.
Glad.
It's nice to see Dorothy and Martin and Arlene and Bennett sitting there again. I think all of us kind of missed the happy and wonderful occasion of every Sunday night, but it's been a fine vacation for us, and a very interesting vacation. And now that the amenities are done with, we're back to the old business of seeing if we can't make the panel as unhappy as possible in the next half hour, and we'll do our best. We promise you that. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after... Well, Bennett just called across the stage that perhaps some of you didn't know we'd been away, so I should explain that because Arlene was off learning to count from 1 to 2 to 3, we've had a chance to take a few weeks off and do some traveling because we could tape some programs so that Arlene could be with us instead of being away from us for so long. So Bennett's been in Europe, and Arlene's been in Europe, and Martin's been in Europe, and we hope Dorothy had a wonderful time at home and had a vacation. And now let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Buzz Burke. Is that right? Buzz, where are you from?
Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to have you with us. How old are you?
14 years old.
14 years old. Fine. May I present our panel? I think probably they're all very familiar to you, but we ought to introduce you formally. Now, will you join me over here? You know how we keep score, Buzz?
Yes, sir.
All right. If you know how we keep score, let's let the audience at home and the folks who've been good enough to join us here in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Buzz is salaried and that he deals in a service. And we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Well, Master Burke, you're 14, and so is my son. And if I had to guess what he did, I'd have to say that he had something to do with athletics. Do you in any way?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Cerf.
Well, Buzz, I'm going to model my question on my son, too, who was just the same age. Does your work, the service you perform, involve animals in any way?
No.
2 down and 8 to go. Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work for a non-profit-making organization?
Yes.
Is it the government of the United States?
Yes.
Are you a page boy?
Yes.
A page boy where, Dorothy?
In the Senate or
That's
Congress?
absolutely right, and so we get all the cards over. That's the way to do it. Yes, actually 14 years old, and by appointment, a page in the Senate, and working hard, and at the same time, you're going to have to carry a normal school load, aren't you?
Yes.
How do you work it out? When do you go to school?
Well, I work in the summer and go to school in my hometown when I'm not working.
I see. And do you go to school in Washington at all while you're working? Are there classes for pages there?
There is, but I don't attend.
There is. You don't have to. You don't need to attend. Is that it, Buzz?
I wish I did.
That's wonderful. Well, I must say that it's quite an honor for a young man of your tender years to, one, have the responsibility of being a page in the Senate, and two, to have the association of those leaders of government who have so much to do with our laws. Do you find it exciting and interesting?
Yes. If you like, depends on the side you're on.
And on that note, because we don't want to get anybody here embarrassed, we'll leave it out. Would you rather be a bat boy for the Yankees or a page in the Senate?
Bat boy for the Yankees.
True blue, 100% American. Buzz, thanks very much for being our guest on What's My Line. It's nice to have you with us, and I hope you get to be a bat boy for the Yankees after you've done your page work in the Senate. Good to see you. Well, almost, I think, properly described as a brilliant beginning panel. Let's see what we can do with the second contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Catherine Dees. Joanne Irving. Is that right? First thing, is it Miss Irving?
Mrs.
Mrs. Is it Miss Dees? Mrs. Dees. And where are you from?
Doretta, Louisiana.
Doretta, Louisiana. Both of you from Doretta, Louisiana. May I present our panel then? Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Irving. Will you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score on What's My Line? Both of you? Good. All right, if you know how we keep score on What's My Line, we'll let the audience at home and in the theater know exactly what your lines are. All right, panel, Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Irvin are self-employed, and they deal in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Bennett Cerf.
Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Irvin, which one of you is going to be the spokesman for the team?
Both of us.
You both? Do you do work together?
Yes, we do sometimes.
Do you own some kind of shop or something that you together run?
Yes.
And we have to find out what kind of a shop it is. Is that correct?
Yes, well, they both, as we've said, deal in a product, and it's up to you to identify product or shop or occupation.
Do you come into contact with the customers that you serve?
Yes.
You are speaking here of the normal social contact which would be requisite to any exchange of views or opinions as to the worth of a product, I take it.
Yes, that's what I am, John. When you are doing this work, do you wear costumes other than the ordinary street costume with these lovely dresses that you're wearing this evening?
Well, now, Bennett, do you want to know, would they wear other than the lovely dresses they wear
I would want to know if they wear some special kind of, possibly, some protective costume or something that would keep you from getting dirty? No.
That makes it 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen, and small Hull.
You may get a yes yet, I knew this would be a long conference.
Well, I'm a little concerned here because Bennett, Bennett's question was really based, if I understood it, Bennett, on the basis of would you wear clothes other than so abnormal as to be identifiable with a specific occupation.
Well, what I had in mind, quite honestly, if they worked around automobiles or in a garage or something, they'd wear some kind of dungarees. If they did any kind of manual work on the roads or anything of that sort, they would wear some kind of protective costume.
Let me do this, because we want to be fair about this. I would say this, that Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Irvin, at their discretion, may well elect to wear garb other than a normal street dress while they're doing their work, because it is a more efficient way to dress, and perhaps it would be in the long run, protective of clothing. Would you agree to that? Mm-hmm. So you go on, Bennett.
Do you use your hands in the job that you do?
Yes.
Do you do work that is very often done by men?
Yes.
Would it have anything to do with roads or the vehicles they're on?
Oh, the what?
The vehicles that move there on?
No vehicles. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Does your product have anything to do with buildings?
Not except in the most transitory and illusory sense. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Is your product more useful for men than women?
No, I wouldn't say so. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Well, is it a product that I might go to a store to buy?
Yes.
Is it a product that might be used in my
Let
home?
me say here that it's a product that you might go to a store to buy at some stage in the normal development of the distribution of the product in its more useful forms to the general public.
John, could I have my old answer back? Is it a product that might be used in my home?
Yes.
Might it be used in any way in the construction of my home?
No.
No, I wouldn't think so. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Irvin, when you are finished with a customer, does the customer look different in any way, shape, or form?
No. 5 down and 5 to go,
Barbara.
Miss Kilgallen. Not unless the customer elected, you know, to use this for adornment. He'd look different then.
If I bought this product at a store, could I carry it out by myself?
Well, now, Dorothy, one thing I want to stress here is that we have given the latitude that the product in its more useful forms might be available in a store. But in the specifics of the product as our guests are concerned with it, it would be difficult to answer the question, you know, that as you pose it, except that you always keep in mind that at some stage in the game, when it's more readily available, yes.
I'd like Arlene's old answer back.
Want to hear my German? It's very good.
Is this solid rather than liquid?
Yes.
This product. Do you deal with it or treat with it in some way before it reaches the store?
Yes.
You are the wholesale element.
Yes.
Has this ever been alive?
Yes.
Has it ever been an animal?
Yes.
Is it a domesticated animal?
Yes.
Is it an animal that would be found on a farm?
Yes.
Would it ever be found indoors in a house?
Yes.
Indoors in the house or
in a house?
In a house.
Would it be found in a house?
Well, there's a tough one now, isn't it? Small conference.
The audience is getting restless anyway.
Well, with your permission, ladies, I want to be very fair. There are circumstances under which our guests can affirmatively say that they have had relationships that in the general development of their business where the animal would be in the house. This is not to suggest that it would, in all cases, be in the house.
Are these four-legged animals?
Yes.
Are they all of one kind, all of one species?
Yes.
Are they anything in the lamb or goat field?
No. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr.
I'm
Gabel.
goat.
Do the animals give a product which is the thing that you ultimately sell?
Yes.
No, now, here, no, and this, if, with your permission again, because I think there's been some confusion. What I think we've arrived at now is that there is a product which is ultimately sold that is concerned with the product with which our guests directly deal, Martin. This is what I was trying to convey.
Right. Now, do your guests, then I'll address myself to you, John, because you're being very clear this evening.
I don't believe it.
Do your guests deal specifically with an animal that produces something which is then ultimately sold somewhere?
Yes. Right?
Is that something, a form of milk?
No. That's 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
If you were thinking of cows, I've hardly ever seen a cow in the house.
I know what's a cow.
It's a different kind of cow. Is this...
I'll remain discreetly silent, I think.
Is this animal in the pig or hog family?
Yes.
Are they pigs that you have something to do with?
Yeah.
Yes.
They permanent the tails. They don't skin a pig for pig skin. They don't do that.
Just raise pig. They just raise pig.
No, they do something with pigs other than raise them because...
Now, I'm going to throw the cards because Bennett's right. They just raise pigs. That's all. Mrs. Dees.
What a simple occupation.
Isn't it wonderful? Mrs. Dees and Mrs. Evan operate the K.J. Swine Breeders, Inc.
Right.
INC, Incorporated. How long have you been doing it?
2.5 years.
2.5 years? Is it lucrative?
Well...
No, it's not lucrative. There it is, right now.
Just love pigs.
Yorkshire? Oh, that's a very advanced type of pig, isn't it, Joe?
John, I wonder if the ladies remember that old Moran and Mac routine. You remember they bought pigs for $5 in the spring and fed them all summer and then sold them for $5 in the fall. And Moran said, you can't make any money that way. And Mac said, we found that out.
Well, I don't want to ask you if you found that out, because I'm sure you haven't. I'm sure it's a very successful business. Thank you for being very interesting guests on What's My Line. It's nice to have you both with us. Well, now we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from us. And now we come to the special feature of our program, so familiar to you, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my friends on the panel are always blindfolded. Are the blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes,
Yes,
Good. Will you enter Mystery Challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our Mystery Challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and let's begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in show business?
Yes.
Mr.
Are you
Gabel?
a man?
Yes.
Miss Francis?
Are you in the theater?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
Are you currently appearing or are you about to appear in a show on or near Broadway? No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Were you performing in the Broadway area in a play or musical during the 1960 to 61 season?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Gabel.
The last time you were appearing on Broadway, was the play a non-musical play?
Well, yes.
Miss Francis?
Have you been in pictures lately? I won't tell anybody. Have you been in pictures?
Yes.
Good.
Mr. Cerf?
Are you a star in a picture that has been released within the past weeks? Yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
Is the picture The Young Doctors?
Oh, yes.
Frederick March?
That makes it 2, 3, 4 to over. Mr. Gabel?
Are you Ben Gazzara?
I think so.
Wonderful. Dorothy, congratulations. And
She's marvelous.
Oh, you're welcome.
So funny.
But that whisper could cover a multitude.
Yeah,
It could cover
that's
the
right.
whole cast.
That's right,
Let
yeah.
me explain that Ben is here with some crutches and a broken limb
Yes,
because he's a softball player. This is...
unfortunately, and it was all my idea.
And he was playing on second base, And this man was coming at him, and he didn't get out of the way. That's what happened.
That's right, John.
Tell him the name of your team, Ben.
The Tuna Fish Terrors.
The Tuna Fish Terrors. And you've gotten your thing. You've
But
really
it was all my, the odd thing was, it was all my idea to get my friends who are indoor people into the fresh air, and all those men have survived, and I'm here injured.
Well, the busted leg. Yes, Dorothy.
Aside from the hospital report, may I say that the picture is a wonderful one? I saw it opening night, and it's wonderful, and Ben's marvelous in it.
Thank you, Dorothy.
It is, and it's received fine notices, and I know it's going to be very successful. Ben, thank you for taking that broken leg out on a Sunday night to come and visit us.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Would you say good night to the panel?
Yes, I certainly will.
We'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate sponsor. And now let's meet another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Mary. Silk instead. Is it Miss or Mrs. Silkenstead?
Miss.
Miss Silkenstead. Where are you from?
Bayville, New York.
Bayville, New York. I think, in all fairness, we ought to tell the panel that you're going to college in a few days, a few weeks. What is it, 2 weeks, perhaps?
The 20th.
The 20th. So it's very few days, really, a couple of weeks. But that you've been very busy this summer, and they have to try to find out what it is you've been up to this summer. May I present the panel now?
Yes.
Will you join me over here, Miss Silkenstead, please? You know how we keep score?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, fine. We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Miss Silkenstead is salaried and deals in a service, and we'll begin the general questioning with Mr. Gabel.
Miss Silkenstead, is your summer job done outdoors?
Yes, it is.
Is it something that requires you to wear a sporting costume of some kind?
Yes, it does.
Does it take place near the water?
Yes, it does.
Are you a lifeguard?
Yes, I am.
As Mr. Burns said, the best laid plans, we thought that if Miss Mary would be kind enough to come here with this wonderful sunburn and this robust young health of hers, this suggestion that she was a lifeguard, the panel would all say, no, she can't be a lifeguard because they wouldn't have her here. She looks too much like a lifeguard.
You didn't count on a simple-minded fellow like me being here.
Well, I must say, we can't allow this in Bayfield, Long Island, anyway. You win it on technicalities. I don't know what technicalities I'm going to invent, Mary.
Did Miss Silkenstead save anybody this summer?
No, I didn't.
Not even for yourself?
But they didn't drown either.
Everybody
What did you do to earn the money?
Well. Where are you going to go to school on the 20th?
Skidmore College.
Skidmore. Well, congratulations. That's a very fine school, and colleges progressively are harder and harder for young people to get into, so you must have a good academic record.
Well...
Well, it was good enough to get into Skidmore anyway, Mary, and that's a fine and high compliment to you. May you have a very successful higher education and a fine and happy academic year. Nice of you to join us, and what's my line? It's good to have had you with us. Bye-bye. Well, this is what happens when you let a panel get out of New York and go and see the world, as our panel has been doing. Perhaps we'll have better luck with them next week when we make things a little bit rougher. And until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Good night, John. Good night, Martin.
Good night, Dorothy. Arlene. You
Martin. Good night, Bennett.
Really is fun to be back. Even to see you, John. Good night.
Yeah, we're back again. I can feel the shaft right in here. Bennett, it's nice to see you. It is good to get back. It's strange after 12 years, I guess we've gotten so accustomed to the happy thought that we'd see each other once a week. It was strange not to be able to get together, and it's nice to be back again. May you all have a very happy week until next Sunday when we'll get our ratings in. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. U.S. savings bonds help strengthen national security. And you also secure your family's future when you buy bonds. Now better than ever, U.S. savings bonds.